Yo, what is up guys? Just want to let you all know we're going to be opening a new Discord server starting today that'll be much more active. We'll be holding movie nights, viewer games, and way more. Make sure to join with the link below and hope to see you all there.
Death is like the wind, always by my side.
What is up guys, it's Tempest, and I wanted to make this video since Yasuo is changing drastically with the upcoming changes in 14.10. For those of you who don't know what the changes are, I'll go over the biggest changes right now. First, the biggest change and most impactful change is that they're completely removing lethal tempo from the game. This is obviously such a big change because this has been our main rune for around 3 years, and swapping to a different rune is going to completely change the way we have to think about playing Yasuo, which I will go over a little further into the video. The other huge change is our items. For the longest time, our first item has been Shieldbow or Kraken Slayer, and with this new patch, not only are they getting rid of the lifesteal on Shieldbow, but they are also getting rid of the crit chance on Kraken Slayer, making our itemization very awkward to say the least. They did change a lot of the other items, and at the end of the guide, you guys will learn all the possible different build paths that I've come up with. Alright, now let's talk about the runes. So since they're getting rid of lethal tempo, we have 3 choices: Press the Attack, Conqueror, and Fleet. So a thing to note before I get into anything else is that they're actually reworking Press the Attack. They're making it so after you proc it on someone, it still does the damage, but then you get 8% damage to everyone instead of the one person. But they're getting rid of the amp on for your team, like the teammate thing, so it's more self-sufficient. So I mean, obviously it's gonna be way better on Yasuo and Yone. Just because they're self-sufficient champions, you don't need to wait for a gank and stuff like that, so that's definitely gonna be really nice. So I think I have it as a good versus short fights. So think, and like good against lane against ranged. So it's gonna be better in lane than Conquer, just because, you know, you're just gonna get like 3 autos off in mid lane, proc it, and then the trade's over. Obviously it's gonna do more damage than Conquer. But yeah, Conquer is only gonna do more damage in like a really long fight. So if they're like a really squishy team, ranged, and yeah, they just don't really have anyone tanky, then Press the Attack is going to be the rune that you're going to want to go. And then for this, they actually added a new rune too called Absorb Life, which basically is just very simple. You add HP back every time you kill a minion. So in my opinion, you're just going to take this every game, because why would you take a rune that gives you health only on champion kill versus just killing minions? Obviously this is just going to give you more health every single time. I think like if you're smurfing and you're just stomping, then like obviously take Prime because just more gold and stuff like that. But if you're at your true elo, I would just take Absorb Life, because if someone takes it and you don't, I mean, you're just gonna be down like 200 HP in lane, which is gonna be kind of insane. So yeah, I guess you just have to take that now. We still take Alacrity. They added a new one called Haste, just gives you ability haste. Is that useful in Yasuo? No, useless. So don't worry about that. Bloodline even more useless now because we don't have tempo attack speed, so Alacrity is even better. And last thing they changed in Precision was they changed Cut Down to 8% more damage to champions who have more than 60% health. So if I'm not wrong, this will just make you do 8% more damage to anyone who's above 60% health. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So basically, you don't have a rune if you're against someone who's 50% or below. So I mean, I still think probably you just take Last Stand every single time. It's gonna do the most damage. But I mean, maybe if you're in an easy lane, take this. But at that point, I feel like Coup de Grace, because having more damage when they're lower seems a lot more useful than higher HP. Maybe I'm wrong, who knows? I think Last Stand is the most like useful one out of all of them. Then they didn't change anything in Resolve, so these runes change the same. So we're just gonna focus on the Keystone. Yeah, again, BTA is gonna be for those squishier teams against ranged, and yeah, not tanky. Then we go to versus tanky teams, which obviously is the same rune page as Conqueror. Conqueror is going to be, let's say, you're against a Sejuani plus a Galio mid. Or just melees in general, because in melee matchups you could actually like proc the Conqueror and like keep it procced over and over again. So, yeah, that's when you would take Conqueror. I think it's just going to be between those two. The last one we have is Fleet. Page for it. I don't think Fleet is going to be very good. Maybe in like really rare scenarios, let's say you're against like a LeBlanc mid, because like you're not really gonna proc PTA in that matchup at all, and the movement speed's gonna be really nice. But yeah, I will say Fleet is way more useful on Yasuo than Yone, just because he cares about movement speed a lot more. Doesn't have as much gap close as Yone. But since they're getting rid of Kraken, or like we're not gonna be rushing Kraken anymore, our first item is usually not gonna have any AD on it. So I think if you're rushing an item with no AD, plus you're going a no damage Keystone, you're gonna really do no damage. So personally, I don't think Fleet's gonna be good. but maybe when the items change, it will. As of right now, since like it's gonna be like PD Rush, Flicker Blade Rush, I don't think it's very good. But yeah, that's all I have to say about the runes. Now that the runes are out of the way, I want to talk a little bit about how the playstyle changes since we don't have lethal tempo anymore. The biggest thing I'm going to need you guys to understand is that you cannot take fights and go for early all-ins anymore. In Yasuo's current state with tempo, you can easily jump on your opponent level 1 to 3 and go for an all-in if they don't back up, but this is no longer the case. With PTA or Conqueror or even Fleet, Yasuo's going to be going back to how it used to be, which is all about short trades early on, as in Eing in, getting an auto Q, and then Eing back out. So the key things I need you guys to remember is each trade should be a lot shorter, and especially in range matches should be about proccing PTA if you have it and getting out. This change is going to take a long time to get used to, even for me, but I think it'll make Yasuo way more fun to play due to him having a higher scaling. So to recap it all, shorter trades early in exchange for more scaling and carry potential mid to late game. Okay, now let's talk about the items. So first, it's going to be Berserker's Rush, as always. That doesn't change with anything. But the biggest thing that's going to change with the items, as I said earlier, is that Kraken lost crit. So Kraken is a lot worse now. Doesn't give crit. Also, I think they reduced the damage on the passive. They did. And it's just an all-around worse item. So we're not going to be rushing Kraken. We're going to be rushing Zeal. So back to Zeal Rush, back in the old days. And yeah. So the first build, we have 3 builds that I have. The first one being the most obvious that people probably thought of when they saw the items. It's just PD Rush. They changed PD. It doesn't give any AD anymore. It gives 60% attack speed, so it's very similar to the one back in the day. I don't know how much old PD used to give, but it doesn't give... See, the thing that's awkward is just it gives more attack speed now, which we don't really need that much attack speed, and it doesn't give the shield. So it's just really awkward. It's like, even from like the Season 6 PD, this is just like an all-around nerf. Like, you're getting the 50% crit, you're getting so much attack speed, but like, do we really need that much attack speed? Like, it's kind of just too much. I'd much rather have like either the damage reduction from back in the day PD or the lifeline on it, right? So I don't really like it, but honestly, none of these builds feel really good. Also, disclaimer, I don't think, or I'm not going to say like any of these are going to be meta. We're going to make a bigger guide when it comes out later on in the month, because can't really tell. Practicing on PvE, it's a really bad environment because people surrender at 5 minutes, so yeah. But anyways, first build is just being PD Rush into IE. I will say this build feels really bad until 2 items. It's because you're not getting any AD until 2 items, so yeah. Also, this is why I'm saying Fleet is really not very good in my opinion. Because if you're going Fleet into PD, you are having no damage from your Keystone, no attack damage from PD, like, come on. Like, it's gonna feel pretty bad, so I think you have to take PTA or Conqueror, especially if you're doing this build. And then, yeah, so PD, IE, which they actually buffed IE. It's 80 attack damage. I think on current patch it's like 65 or 60, something like that. But, yeah, so PD, IE, Bloodthirster. You guys may be thinking, oh, why 3 crit items? Well, Bloodthirster doesn't get crit anymore either. So they got rid of the crit. They brought back old Bloodthirster, which just gives you a shield. So I like this. This is probably like the only good item change for us on this patch, so that's good. So at 3 items, this feels pretty good, but even at 3 items, kind of squishy. Obviously, we have no armor and MR, so you definitely could swap these around, and if you want like more armor first, tankiness, you can go like PDIE Jack Show, then BT. But yeah, I would experiment with it. And then last item, I'll go over at the end, situational item. So yeah, this is the first build. Build number 2, which honestly, the more I think about this build, I don't really like it, but if you don't like this build, definitely try it out. So it's Berserker, Zeal, and instead of finishing the PD, you just go straight into Kraken, i.e. Bloodthirster. It's definitely more damage, but like you're delaying your 2-item spike pretty hard. So I mean, I don't really know if it's worth it. Definitely try it out. I will say the good thing about this build is that the build path feels the best, because instead of just going like Zeal, and then your next back you finish your PD, no attack damage, you can go like Zeal, and then go on this item. This, so you have like AD and you're getting 1.3 on your Q, so it feels good the stat wise in like the mid game, but delaying your 2-item spike might not be worth it just for that little increase on stat boost, you know, with like AD and attack speed. But yeah, so it's Kraken, i.e. Bloodthirster Jack Show. Then you could either finish the Zeal into PD, or just sell the Zeal and buy another crit item. That's also another thing I wanted to go over. They reworked Navori, and they made it all attack speed, kind of like PD, but way less attack speed than PD, less movement speed, and gave it the passive of like auto Q, you reduce the cooldown of your abilities. So I think this is way better on Yone, and PD is just for Yasuo. because obviously you're only going to be reducing wood wall cooldown, so it's kind of awkward. But yeah, and the third and final build, this is for the people who love Bork. They also changed Bork, by the way. There's a lot on it, actually. So instead of one auto giving you the movement speed, it doesn't even give movement speed at all anymore. It only slows, but it's 3 autos. So it's back to the old Bork. They're kind of just like, I don't know. They're running out of ideas. They're just kind of reverting things over and over again throughout the patches. It's kind of lazy, but whatever. It's less on-hit damage. It's 12% currently. It's going down to like 8%, I think. But they're giving it more AD and more attack speed. And more lifesteal, I think. So it's going to be better into squishies. And like worse when people start building HP, I think. I didn't do the math, but that sounds like what it would be. So if you want a Bork build, it's definitely better early. Berserker, Zeal, Bork, into PD. So you can do the full-on rush the Bork, don't have to go Zeal. I think the Zeal just feels really good. So Berserker, Zeal, Bork, finish Zeal into Fanmancer, but there's their IE Jackshaw. This is the full build. Not saying you have to do it in this order. You can like swap it around and be like, oh, maybe you want the IE, you want the lifesteal, maybe you want the tankiness, depending on like what the enemy team comp is. This is just the full-on build. Not saying this has to be the exact order. Yeah, those are the 3 builds. Obviously, this one doesn't have a situational item because it's already 6 items. But then for these 2 builds, you need 1 more item. Depends what you're versing, right? If you want movement speed and you need more MR, Force of Nature. If you're against like a lot of crit users like Tryndamere, Kindred, plus an AD carry, random is always good. Death Stance always a solid against a lot of AD. Iceborne in replacement of Jackshaw if you're against all AD, because you won't need the MR from Jackshaw. Wit's End if you want Tenacity and they have a lot of AP. Turbidus, this is more for Yone. I wouldn't really go this on Yasuo unless you really want Pen, but at that point, Lord Doms is probably better. And last time they changed is Scimitar. They put the lifesteal back on it. So obviously you're only going to take this if you're against like Malzahar, stuff where you need QSS, and it just feels a little bit better. You get lifesteal on it, so that's good. And then last thing we talk about is this new thing that they have is Zephyr. So this is a boots upgrade. You're only going to build this after you are full build, by the way. So that's why it's like, who cares? I mean, it's nice for sure for those of you who are in lower elo where your games go on to like 40 minutes. For high elo like me, probably never building this because games almost never go to full items. So it's kind of just like, whatever. But I mean, I'm not complaining. It's only for Berserker Greaves, by the way. So this is for 80 carries that get this like bonus in the late game. So basically, it just gives 10% more attack speed than Berserkers. Same movement speed actually. Yeah, so 10% more attack speed, and then a passive which, like the wind, gain 5 movement speed on hit for 6 seconds, stacking up to 15% movement speed. So basically, we just go faster. But yeah, it costs 2,000 gold, which I think is an insane amount. It's supposed to be just like a last upgrade, so don't even think about buying this until you're full build, okay? Very important. But yeah, that's about all with the builds. Definitely let me know how these builds feel. I definitely think the worst one out of these 3 is the Kraken one. I think these 2 are far better. But yeah, definitely try it out. Let me know how it feels. Honestly, if the PD feels really bad because no AD, maybe the Bork Rush might just be superior. But yeah, again, I think no matter how you look at it, it's kind of just a straight up nerf compared to like live with lethal Kraken. So I'm a little scared of first patch, so hopefully they make things better. But hopefully these builds help you guys out a little bit. And yeah, let me know how you guys feel, and let me know if you guys found your own builds.